Yeah, Buzz YouTube, what's up? How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the GBA D League Season 4 season recap video for your Durham Druddigons. Now, I wanted to do this a little bit different than my recap of my P4G video, mainly because I honestly believe that this D League season I drafted probably one of the best teams I've ever drafted, and I really think I can say that with like 100% certainty. Like, this team was absolutely amazing. I definitely think it could have won us the league potentially. Unfortunately though, in semifinals we lost literally to a damage roll by 1 point, man, 1 point. And we lost in the semifinals after an absolutely horrendous matchup as well. But regardless, it was a really good match. If you guys do want to check out the battle, a link to hopefully a playlist will be down in the description. You guys go check that out. Check out all the awesome D-League coaches and OP Jellison, I guess, if you guys would like to go subscribe to them and watch their videos. So if you guys did enjoy our run and you do enjoy this video, make sure to hammer arm that thumbs up button down below and let me know, do you guys think Magearna is too broken for the draft league format? Because this is something I actually really want to talk about. Magearna, oh my lord, Magearna is broken. Magearna is honestly way too good for draft league format. The baffling thing though, the real crazy thing is that this season Magearna was allowed, but only without Z moves. Last year, or last season I should say, in season 3 of the D League, it was allowed with Z moves, and the person who had it didn't even go positive, I think, and surely didn't make it close to playoffs. With Z in my hands, we were able to not only go to the playoffs, we were able to finish #1 overall in the season, and Magearna ended up being the kill leader. So that means they got the most KOs out of every other single Pokemon that anybody else had on their team. I think the second closest kill leader was Zygarde 50%, if I'm not mistaken, and I think we do have the GBA doc here. I'm not too sure how much this is updated by. Let me see. Yeah, right here, Zygarde 50% was like the second closest thing to getting as many KOs as Magearna was able to get, and that's just kind of crazy to me. And the main reason I honestly think Magearna is just such a broken mon is the fact that it's not like Celesteela, in the sense that with Celesteela you don't always want to bring it defensively. Sometimes there's those matchups where it's better offensively rather than defensively, but you're maybe forced into a defensive role because you need to try and check something with that bulky defensive steel type that Celesteela does fulfill. Magearna, however, though, even if it is defensive, and this is something I really started to notice as the season went on, is that even if Magearna is forced to be brought defensively, it doesn't matter. It does defense and offense so stupidly. Like, it's so, I don't want to say, like, it's basically just free. Magearna is literally just a free Pokemon. Now, don't get me wrong, obviously it's a Pokemon that you can still do horrendously with if we compare it to GBA D League Season 3, where again, the person that had it might have not been the best skilled player with it, or maybe not the best person at understanding how to try and build with it and prep with it. But with Z moves, it wasn't able to do much. But in my hands, which I feel like I'm a fairly competent player, like I like to think that I'm at least average when I try to compare myself to other like really good players that I know. So in my hands, I was able to use Magearna very, very well. Was able to be brought in so many different ways. Trick Room, I think, was absolutely my favorite set to run with Magearna. Trick Room Magearna was actually just so, that was so stupid. Oh my god, Magearna. And then when I needed it to be defensive, it took hits for days. Even though, yes, it doesn't have like the best form of recovery with like Pain Split. Pain Split is its best form of recovery. So if it had like Recover, or I guess Soft Bolt, I don't know, but if it had some actual reliable recovery, this thing would never see the day of light in any league. Like at the beginning of the generation, people were like, nope, Magearna's stupid, we're not allowing this. But Pain Split does kind of like even it out to where, yes, it's very bulky, it can take hits very, very well, but at times it is very easy to wear it down. However though, it's also a type of Pokemon that just puts so much pressure on your opponent to build for it. Even if a defensive set looks so well in a matchup, an offensive set can be brought very easily. Plus, it still has its ability, Soul Heart. I should have just had it up here this entire time. But Magearna is just such, it's such a brain dead Pokemon, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Like, you can definitely use it very, very effectively, and you don't really need to put too much thought into running it when it has a good offensive matchup, because Shift Gear is really good, Trick Room is really good. Of course, it gets access to Calm Mind, which is absolutely absurd. It gets Volt Switch for momentum. Its move pool is just so good. Now, I knew Magearna was going to be really good, and I felt fairly confident in my battling and prepping skills that I would be able to use it effectively. And the funny thing is that even in matches where I didn't bring a type of setup variant, a defensive one was still able to clean up late game because of it being able to gain that +1 in its special attack with Soul Heart, which is just crazy in my opinion. So never allow this again, okay? Do not allow Magearna. This thing is way too good. Please ban it from GBA main, GBA D League next season. It's way too good, okay? Do not let this thing ever come back to any regular draft, okay? Just do not allow it. This thing is just, it's literally broken, okay? It's actually just so dumb. But it's not the fact that with Magearna, but I felt like this draft kind of encompassed what I really like in a play style, essentially what I really like to try and aim for when I do draft, and it was able to fit in basically like all of my builds as well. And that's a very bulky offense kind of like balance team, because if you look at the top row of our draft here, we obviously have like 3 super frail offensive mons with Infernape, Zydog, and Zoroark. All three of those mons, man, I absolutely love. Zoroark, it definitely put in a lot of work like the first half of the season. Unfortunately though, was not able to bring it after I think like week 6 or week 5. After week 6, I wasn't able to bring it to too many matchups. Just because it didn't do that well. Zydog, I think was really good in the matchups that I was able to bring it. Unfortunately though, it's not like Zygarde 50% where it doesn't even matter if your opponent has a bulky grass type, because Zydog does kind of just get halted by those bulky grass types. And at times in matchups like that, it's really good to have just something else over it, because if your opponent plays that grass type smartly, then they're not ever going to allow Zydog to come in and just get a KO. And with it being frail, it never really got too many chances to be brought as a setup variant, until the one time I did bring a setup variant and I lost because of a roll. But it is an Infernape. I love Infernape, man. I honestly think Infernape is probably my absolute favorite fire type Pokemon in draft league format, and honestly just one of my all-time favorite Pokemon in draft in general, because it's honestly so versatile. A lot of people think that it's, I don't want to say that people think it's overrated, but people I guess think it's underwhelming. Like, I've heard people say it's not a good mon. Like, yeah, its offensive stats are really well rounded, base 104 attack and special attack with that speed, but some people say that it just doesn't hit hard enough. And I feel like that's where people kind of like need to realize that Infernape, the reason why it's so good is because of all the different offensive aspects that it can take. It can be physical, special, mix. It got Swords Dance, Nasty Plot. I brought defensive Infernape twice. It stopped a Charizard Y dead in its tracks, and it won me one match because I was defensive. So even as a defensive mon, this Pokemon is pretty solid. So draft this. If you ever see a tier 2 Infernape, you pick it round 2, round 1 later if you're like last to pick. But pick Infernape, man. Infernape is really such a good mon. I absolutely love it. Those 3 offensive mons were really good on the squad. Nidoqueen, I was really disappointed by Nidoqueen, unfortunately. I really expected much more out of Nidoqueen. Like, as you can see here, I did bring it to a lot of matchups, but for the most part, I didn't expect it to not be as offensive as it was. Like, I get that it's the more bulky of the two Nidos, and that's what kind of appeals to me as well, but it was just not able to really be an offensive presence, because for the most part, with it being my best bulky ground type, I would almost always have to bring it defensively. There was one game against was it this one? Yeah, against Greg, where I brought a Choice Scarf variant, and this set was really dope because I EV'd it to outspeed a Greninja, and I was able to surprise the Greninja, outspeed it, and straight Okoi with superpower, and that was absolutely phenomenal. If I had played it a little bit better, it definitely would have put in a lot more work. But outside of that one match, I think for the most part, I always brought it defensively, or a speedy defensive set as well. Yeah, why don't I have a last move on that? Hold up. Yeah, that was the Scarf one. Oh, hold up. What? Here we go. Week 5, here we have Assault Vest was pretty nice. Week 6, Assault Vest. Assault Vest was actually solid. One Mon that really did surprise me though was Milk Tank. Milk Tank I thought was going to be like Nidoqueen, where I was just going to bring it defensively over and over and over again, but I started to realize that a speedy offensive, or like speedy bulky tank version of Milk Tank was very, very solid in a lot of matchups, just because Milk Tank does have that nice base 100 speed, so it's able to kind of creep certain offensive mons, which can catch people off guard, and because of that speed, you can invest even more into its bulk, so you can still be able to outspeed certain things, but still take hits very reliably. And of course, Stealth Rocks was absolutely amazing on this mon. Thunder Wave, Body Slam for paralysis, Milk Drink for recovery was also very, very solid. Mega Medicham is disgusting. I did not expect Mega Medicham to be as good as it was, and I feel like a part of that was because this team was kind of decently well-rounded. Like, we had some good forms of momentum with like U-turn and Volt Switch, and it was able to allow Medicham to come in at certain times for free, and that's what Medicham really likes. It likes to come in for free, and you just click a move, and you basically OHKO or 2-hit KO everything guarantee. Like, there's very, very little that deals with Mega Medicham, and the one thing that does deal with it is Cresselia, which we were able to pick up. And let me tell you about Cresselia, guys. Now let's look here at the stats. So as you can see here, Cresselia might have not done the best when it was brought, but the thing I like about Cresselia is just the fat. It's just the fat, basically. It's the fact that it was so fat. It was so just beyond the bulky, and it had a good matchup like literally every single week. I'm pretty sure I brought it every week except one week, which was week 6 if I'm not mistaken here. Yeah, and even though it was brought defensively every single time except once, which was this week, I actually brought Scarfed Cresselia, but it didn't do much. But it was still pretty cool on paper. Like, it was still able to switch in, tank a hit, and surprise revenge kill something. Just because, again, that just great natural bulk of Cresselia was so good. And as I was saying, I really felt like this draft kind of embodied what I really like to build with, what I like to draft with, and how I like to play, which is just a very bulky offensive style, I guess kind of almost leaning towards more of a balance-ish kind of style. And this draft was honestly just absolutely amazing. We unfortunately had to get luck in order not to have a chance to win in the finals. Regardless though, I had an absolute blast this season. We had so many awesome coaches. The season was very, very fun. We got to play some very awesome people like Greg, Randy. We got to play my boy Zazo, the BBC king himself. We also got to play my good pal Mr. CJ. I love CJ. Definitely check him out, guys. And just, it was a very fun season. I absolutely loved this draft. I don't know if I'll maybe be able to draft something like similar to this in the future, but this draft was amazing. Alamomola, of course, is just ridiculously bulky. Another mon that really surprised me as well was Rotom Frost. From week 1, Rotom Frost went in, and then from there, almost every other time that we brought it, it was able to put in a pretty decent amount of work. And actually, something kind of funny that I just remembered was that Infernape and Rotom Frost, those were my 2 Z-move mons, but not once that I bring Z-move and Infernape, except for my match against Zazo here, which you can't see the set, but it was, I believe, either Electrium Z or Firium Z, I want to say. It was one of those two. But that was the only time I ever decided to bring Infernape with Z moves. And while I'm not saying that Infernape isn't good with Z moves, I feel like it benefits much more without Z moves, because Infernape likes to have the potential life orbs. It likes the scarf, maybe the band, the specs, the expert belt, items like that, where it can still take free liberty, but it still hits as hard with every single hit instead of just having one absolute nuke for something. At the same time though, Z move Infernape on paper is something that is a mon that is a little bit more difficult to build around. At least that's how it is on paper. Like if you look at Z Infernape and you look at your walls, you think, well, if this is brought with Z moves, that means it's just gonna blow back this wall. And I can kind of see where that is kind of a plus side of Infernape, but I honestly feel like Infernape benefits way more without Z moves. And while it's not bad, it's still just not the best route to go. If anything, I would have liked to maybe go with like Z Zoroark or Z Zydog instead of going with Z Infernape, which my front office was chirping me about, saying it's good, it's good, it's good, but I was like, nah, okay, whatever. So I kind of wish I had gone with a different Z mon. Maybe we would have been able to use Z Zydog more, maybe Z Zoroark more. And Zoroark, again, absolute monster. Whimsicott, I didn't expect Whimsicott to do a lot this season, but it was decently well enough in like 2 or 3 games that I did bring it. Offensively, it was really nice, and the support options are always absolutely amazing. And yeah, I think I've talked about the team. I just kind of wanted to break down the team in general and just kind of talk about each mon and how they were. And just, again, like this was a really good balance of like fat mons and offensive mons that love having those fat mons in the back come in to take any hits they want. The massive wishes from Alamamola were amazing as well when I was able to pass them off and I was able to recover up some mons. Magearna, absolutely broken. Magearna plus Mega Medicham is a nightmare. I know for a fact people had a hard, difficult time preparing for those two mons together. And I found it funny that during the draft stream, people were talking, or they were confused. They were like, well, why did he get a second fire type? Wait, why did he get Zydog? That he's got 2 fighting types and he's got 2 ground types now. Oh, I think he's gonna end up trading off either Zydog or Nidoqueen to get rid of the ground typing. But you guys have to understand, if you overlap types like that, it really helps you out in matchups, because a double fighting core between Infernape and Mega Medicham, those two mons already hit extremely hard. You pair that up with Zoroark, that can be potentially a pursuit trapper. Your opponent needs to prepare for that. And then once their psychic type or their ghost type is gone, Infernape and Medicham just easily spam their fighting moves. Electric types had a very difficult time coming to my matches because of Nidoqueen already being so bulky, and then Zydog also being in the back, being able to potentially be a hard switch in to those weaker electric types, and it just made things prepping wise more difficult for my opponents regardless. So that's why I don't necessarily think it is too big of an issue when you try to like overlap types like that. And this draft, I think, was able to really show it. It was able to really kind of make good use of the double fightings, of the double ground types, and I guess you could say the double fairies, but I feel like Magearna was more of a steel type for like the fairy steel with dragon core, and then Whimsicott was obviously that little fairy typing in there. But I don't want this to be entirely too long. We had a great season, had a blast, was able to use this amazing team. I absolutely love this team. I would have loved to try and have a chance to at least win the championship there, but unfortunately we did go down in the semifinals. But hey, it is what it is. Magearna, again, just, it's broken. Don't please don't allow it ever again. Draft Infernape, it's an absolute monster. Cresselia is disgustingly fat. I want to use Cresselia again for sure in the future. Nidoqueen, I think, is still very solid, although it was very underwhelming for me this season. However, though, I feel like maybe in the hands of a better player, it might have been able to do more, or maybe it was just the way my draft was structured. But it is what it is, and all in all these mons are amazing. Had an absolute blast. Love this draft, love this season. Thank you to all the coaches that we were able to play and face, and good luck to my boy Zazo in the finals against Techno Strike. And I guess from here, maybe we can join GBA main. I'm not sure. I have no idea about that right now. Maybe we'll come back for season 5 if we don't get into the main league, but we'll see how things go. Regardless though, hammer arm that thumbs up button down below. And with that being said, I think I will see you all next week. Probably, no, is it next week? Well, this should be going up hopefully on Wednesday. in about 2 or 3 weeks time, we should have our next league starting. So really excited for that, and who knows, maybe we can actually win that championship that time. But yeah, if you guys may have missed my P4G recap, definitely check that out, and I will see you all later. So thank you all for watching. Later, everybody.
No matter where you're at, I'm not here to make friends, it's time to attack and deplete your HP with a final smash. Don't make me turn around and pull a 6ft-hax. 6ft-hax, hacks. Yeah. 6ft-hax, hacks. Yeah. 6ft-hax, hacks.